Okay, let's think about language for a second. Do we actually control it? Or maybe, does it somehow control us? Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we're diving into a really unconventional idea. It's something that could challenge, well, pretty much everything you thought you knew about language, thinking, memory, even AI. Yeah, we're looking at insights from a live discussion from the University of Toronto with professors Elon Barenholtz and William Han. And the core idea, the really big one from Barenholtz, is this. Language isn't just, a tool we use. He thinks it's more like an autonomous, almost a living information system, like an organism inside us. Okay, so let's really try and unpack this. Get ready, because this discussion might just flip your understanding of how you actually think.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? This idea that language isn't just sort of folded into our consciousness.
Right.
It might actually be a separate program, maybe even a really powerful one running in parallel. Barenholtz argues it's an independent autogenerative system.
Autogenerative.
Yeah.
Meaning, what exactly?
Meaning it kind of creates and sustains itself. Think of it like a piece of software that gets installed in your brain when you're an infant and it just runs.
Whoa.
The really radical bit is this. Language might be an OS, an operating system inside us, not just some app we choose to open.
Okay, so not a tool we're constantly picking up and putting down. It's more fundamental. And you mentioned it's ungrounded. That's a term Barenholtz uses, right? What's the implication there?
Yeah, ungrounded is key. It implies this remarkable detachment from raw experience. Imagine someone describing the taste of wine perfectly,
Okay.
but they've never actually tasted anything. That's kind of like Barenholtz's view of language. It doesn't directly connect with our senses, our feelings about the world.
So it knows words go together.
Exactly. It knows red often comes up with apple or blue with sky, but the language system itself doesn't know red in the way we experience it. It doesn't feel the warmth of red or the coolness of blue,
It just deals with symbols.
just symbols. What he calls meaningless squiggles, actually. And the patterns, the relationships between those squiggles. It's purely abstract, a system of symbolic connections.
Huh. So if it's ungrounded from actual experience, what does that mean for, like, my inner voice? The chatter in my head? Does that language not get the world I'm seeing and feeling?
That's pretty much his claim, yeah. This language system, he suggests, runs alongside our conscious experience, maybe not directly part of it in the way we usually assume.
Alongside it?
It gets inputs from other brain systems, sure, but its main job, its core function, is statistical prediction. It's constantly guessing the very next token.
Token, like the next word.
It could be a word, yeah, or part of a word, even punctuation, like how modern AI predicts the next piece of text. It's that kind of mechanism. Barenholtz actually said, language is an autogenerative system. It lives within us and uses us as a substrate.
Wow, uses us as a substrate. That's quite a framing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's constantly predicting the next token in my head, what does that do to my feeling of control over my own thoughts?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And how does this prediction thing connect to how we actually think? Because you mentioned AI, and Barenholtz connects this directly to things like ChatGPT, right? These autoregressive models.
He does, absolutely. And that comparison is really crucial. Autoregressive just means predicting the next thing in a sequence based on what came just before.
Okay.
Like a machine that's constantly feeding itself to make the next prediction. He's suggesting that maybe human thought works in a very similar way, and this completely turns our idea of memory on its head.
How so? I think of memory like, pulling up old files.
Right, the file cabinet analogy, that's the traditional view. But Barenholtz says, no, memory is actually a real-time generative process.
Yeah.
When you remember something,
Yeah.
you're not retrieving a stored file,
Yeah.
you're actually reconstructing it right then and there using this language-based prediction engine.
Wait, hold on. So when I remember my 10th birthday, I'm basically making it up based on language probabilities. That sounds unsettling.
Well, making it up might be too strong, but you're definitely regenerating it. It's less like playing a perfect video recording and more like improvising a familiar tune. Each time you play it, it might be slightly different.
Okay, I think I get that. Explains why memories can feel so real, but sometimes be, wrong.
Exactly. That's the generative process. And it's recursive, you see. Every new thought or word that gets generated becomes part of the input for predicting the next one.
So it feeds itself.
Precisely. He calls this the pregnant present. It's this idea that the current moment is loaded with all the past inputs, but also all the potential next steps, the next tokens. As he puts it, we are constantly generating just the very next token and letting that flow.
Okay. constantly generating the next token,
Yeah.
letting it flow. So we've got this autonomous language system generating thoughts, maybe even generating memories. But where does it originate? How does it get into our heads in the first place?
Ah, good question. Barenholtz points towards culture. He suggests culture is sort of the delivery mechanism. It implants this linguistic system into our minds, probably starting in infancy.
Implanted by culture.
And once it's in there, it runs autonomously. Sometimes, maybe even pushing thoughts or words that conflict with what we consciously intend.
Huh.
And this fits nicely with a more modular view of the brain. Professor William Han talks about this too, seeing consciousness as maybe just one of several software-like layers running in parallel. Language is one program, maybe feeling is another, perception another, all interacting.
So language is just one module,
Yeah.
and it still doesn't understand the raw input, the sensory stuff.
According to this model, no. It just understands the connections between symbols, those meaningless squiggles, which, raises a pretty deep question for all of us.
Yeah.
If culture installs this linguistic software, how much of what feels like my thought is actually just the system running its culturally programmed course? How much is genuinely me?
That's a lot to chew on. Okay, so this model of the human mind, how does it connect back to artificial intelligence? You said LLMs, the big language models, are relevant here.
Hugely relevant. Han really emphasizes this point. It turns out these LLMs, which are basically prediction engines built on language data, are surprisingly good at tasks that don't seem purely linguistic, like reasoning or even some types of planning.
Right, I've heard about that. They seem to do more than just chat.
Exactly, and this flips the old AI script. The traditional idea was first build a logical reasoning engine, like a brain, then bolt on a language interface so it can talk to us.
Language was the add-on.
Right, but LLMs did it the other way around. They started with just language, just predicting the next token, and somehow complex reasoning abilities seem to emerge from that. Han puts it very bluntly. It turns out language is the engine, not the accessory.
Wow, language is the engine, not the paint job. Okay, so what does this mean? For building better AI, sure, but maybe more importantly for how we understand ourselves, our own minds.
Well, it challenges decades of thinking in cognitive science and AI. It suggests language isn't just this layer we put on top of thought for communication. It might be much closer to the foundation of thought itself.
So understanding how language works, how it runs itself.
Might be the key to understanding thought, maybe even consciousness itself. The surprising power of these LLMs could be showing us something fundamental about how our internal world is structured. That language isn't just how we talk about our thoughts. It might be how we have them.
Okay, this has been a really mind-bending exploration. Let's try and boil it down. If you're listening, here are maybe 5 core takeaways from this whole discussion. First, language seems to be autonomous. It acts like its own self-running system in us and apparently in AI too. Second, your memory. Probably generative, not like a recording. It's more like a live reconstruction built using these language-like predictions. Third, consciousness might be modular, think separate, interacting systems, language, feeling, seeing all running together in your brain. Fourth, culture is key. It seems to install this language software in us right from the start, shaping how our internal system runs. And fifth, those AI models, like ChatGPT, they might be more than just clever tech. They could actually be giving us a peek into how our own minds operate. Seriously, this whole idea of language as an autonomous thing, it really forces you to rethink, well, everything. Who you are, how you relate to the world.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with this really provocative final thought. Are we really the ones using language? Or are we, in fact, the substrate, the biological hardware that language uses to perpetuate itself?
Makes you want to pay more attention to your own inner monologue, doesn't it?
Definitely. Try noticing. Just notice how your thoughts often appear as language inside your head. Does it feel like something you are actively doing or something that just happens?
Something to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today and for sharing your curiosity with us.